On the latest developments, we're talking with Olexiy Haran, professor of politics at the Kyiv Mohila Academy, joining us from Ukraine's capital. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Washington has vowed more support for Ukraine's defense, and right after that, Russia launched another largest yet attack on the country. Donald Trump has of late very much changed his rhetoric towards his Russian counterpart. What would you say could be expected from the U.S. moving forward?
Well, frankly speaking, we saw so many changes in so many statements, contradictory statements from President Trump, that it's very risky, to assess what will go on. What is clear actually right now, and what was predicted by experts, that Putin would try to deceive Trump. He would like to show that Trump is a loser. He would not respond to Trump's suggestions of ceasefire. And that's what happened. That's what happened. And actually, Ukrainians were asking Trump for decisive support of Ukraine since his inauguration, because Russia started to increase bombardments of Ukrainian territory since that time. Moreover, we know that President Trump suggested ceasefire and full ceasefire, and Ukraine immediately agreed, and Russia didn't. And Russia continued these barbarous bombardments of Ukraine and of Ukrainian civilians. And Trump again was silent, waiting, and now finally he said that it's time to support Ukraine. But it happened after stopping of supply of some American support to Ukraine. So we see that Trump seems to change his opinion, and that's really, really good. But we need to understand that those arms which are supplied to Ukraine right now, they were promised to Ukraine by previous administration and adopted by Congress, previous Congress. So it was Congress decision, including the House of Representatives, which was headed by Republican, Mr. Johnson. So these are the arms which were promised kind of a year ago. And now the question is, so this support now is going to end. So now the question, what will Trump do? Because so far, there are no any financial obligations from United States to continue support, basically to not only to use, which was promised before, but what would be after this aim was exhausted. So, and we don't see any discussion regarding future obligations to Ukraine in future budget. So, to sum it up, after these huge violations of everything, of international law, of human rights made by Putin, finally, Trump said that, okay, they are ready to restore supplies to Ukraine. But the question is, what will happen next?
Well, when you mentioned violations of international law and human rights, we've had a ruling, actually two rulings from the Strasbourg court that Russia did indeed violate international law in Ukraine. Can Kyiv, at least symbolically, benefit from these rulings, given that Russia was kicked out of the Council of Europe and regards the decisions as null?
Well, symbolic, and not only for Kyiv. I think this is important step, important decision for many countries. But Russia basically said they refuse, to implement these decisions. So they continue to play their game, very cynical game. And we know that Russia committed a lot of crimes. But the question is how to push Russia, how to pressure Russia. And in this situation, we see the only way is to additional supply of weapons to Ukraine. First of all, to defend ourselves, to defend civilians. You know, it's not easy psychologically to live in Kiev because every day we have bombardment. And every day, every morning, we are calling each other just, you know, to hear the voice of relatives. So first of all, supply of weapons, defensive weapons to Ukraine. And second, increase of sanctions on Russia. And we know that the EU is going to increase sanctions. There are two countries which are trying to block it, I mean Hungary and Slovakia. But a huge question also is what would be the position of the United States, because we understand if the United States do not increase sanctions on Russia, there would be many loopholes which would be beneficial for us.
Well, in another recent development, we saw Volodymyr Zelensky today in Rome meeting Pope Leo ahead of his planned meetings with U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg and the Fourth Recovery Conference being held in the Italian capital. The Vatican once again offered to host talks with Russia, which Moscow previously denied. What do you make of this repeated offer by the Holy See, and how strong would you say Kiev's diplomatic standing is currently?
Well, if we are talking about our standing, we rely, first of all, we rely on the spirit of Ukrainian people and Ukrainian armed forces. All the polls show that Ukrainians are not ready to capitulate. We are not going to capitulate. We are ready to continue the fight. But this is difficult because this is a war of attrition. So I think that what Vatican is saying right now, again, this is important. This is important from different diplomatic, symbolic point of view. Vatican may be instrumental in returning Ukrainian children, deported Ukrainian children to Ukraine, exchange of prisoners of war. So this is all important. But again, for Putin, the main language that he will hear is the language of force.
Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and opinions.
Thank you.